Most professional musicians pride themselves on delivering their material live. While the studio offers a change of pace where the artist can experiment with different sonic effects, the song doesn't have the ability to truly come alive until it hits the live stage. This has led to many musicians turning in world-class live performances that make the studio version of the song sound dull by comparison. Whether it be through different arrangements or just a renewed sense of energy, these songs became completely different animals once they actually got to the live setting. I am Kirsten from WhatCulture Music. Don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell, and this is 8 live songs better than the studio recording. Number 8, EVERLONG by the Foo Fighters. EVERLONG will always be lauded as one of the classics in the Foo Fighters catalogue. Ever since its release in 1997, the song has become the band's signature tune thanks to Dave Grohl's remarkable gift for melody. While it was successful in its day, it was the live performance with just Dave and a guitar that turned the song from good to spectacular. The first time Grohl had performed it acoustically was on The Howard Stern Show, where he turned the song from a rager into a much more intimate ballad. Sure, the original tune is able to kick out the jams at any occasion, but the core of the track is a love song, which works wonders in a more subdued setting. Now Grohl's nerve-shredding studio performance has been replaced with a level-headed vocal that floats above the ringing guitars. The song became such a fan favourite that the band actually included the acoustic version of the song on their Greatest Hits album alongside the original recording. It may not be the most ferocious moment of the band's career, but Grohl's performance brings so much more life to what was already an alt-rock staple. Number 7, My Generation by OASIS. OASIS has always been a band that could pull off some stellar cover songs. Look no further than the band's B-sides, where they cover acts like David Bowie, Neil Young, and of course their idols, the Beatles. The group's snide brand of rock and roll made it a no-brainer to cover The Who's indelible classic My Generation. Though the recorded version has a certain amount of muscle behind it, the song's true rocking potential wasn't fulfilled until the band took it to the road. For anyone even mildly interested in this group, the band's 2005 performance of this song in Manchester will leave you speechless. Coming out as the encore, Oasis turned this garage rock staple into one of the most raucous performances of their career, as the Gallagher brothers play off each other to near perfection. Yeah, there may be thousands of people filling this arena, but Oasis turns this stadium atmosphere into a sweaty club as they bash away on their guitars until the audience is left in shambles. Oasis has always claimed to be the biggest band in the world, and with this performance, they may well have lived up to that tremendous accolade. Number 6, For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. Metallica has always been a band that prided themselves on their ability to bring their punky thrash to the masses. It almost seemed like the band were destined to perform headbanging anthems for the rest of their lives. However, something extraordinary happened once the band teamed up with classical composer Michael Kamen. Once the band unveiled their S&M concert with an orchestra, most fans were perplexed, to say the least. However, all that skepticism slowly dissipated when the band kicked into high gear on For Whom the Bell Tolls. While the song had already been a metal classic for some time, the song turned into a sonic juggernaut once it was given a classical treatment. The version fans know and love from Ride the Lightning was suddenly given a completely different identity, with the orchestra blowing the song up to mammoth proportions. Now the signature bass line of the late Cliff Burton goes from a nice musical introduction to a clarion call of doom as the orchestra washes over your eardrums. No matter how many metal fans cry heresy for Metallica dabbling in non-metal circles, the band's willingness to experiment with their classic sound yielded musical genius on this track. Number 5, Better Man by Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam always seemed to have a pure rock and roll approach to their professional lifestyle. After the band had a few videos in their early years, they quickly abandoned the practice so that they could live and bring their music to their fans in a more direct manner. While the band is still making great music in the studio to this day, there's always been something about the song Better Man that has given it an added spark on stage. Eddie Vedder's woeful tale of a married woman stuck in an unsatisfying relationship is so open that it seems to strike a nerve with almost anyone who hears it. Though the song was hugely successful in its day, the tune's live track record has only intensified over time. When Vedder starts the song on his guitar, the audience takes over for him before he can even get the first word out. Oftentimes, Vedder will go along with the crowd, still playing the chord while he lets the audience sing their hearts out before he even takes over for the second verse. Pearl Jam's live performances were always of the highest quality, but Better Man has gone from being another great live cut to one of the most cathartic fan participation moments in hard rock. Number 4, Folsom Prison Blues by Johnny Cash. After a while in the country music spotlight, Johnny Cash was at the end of his rope. Though he had notched several hits on the country charts at this point in his career, the Man in Black was going through one of the more drug-fueled times of his life, which led to his career nearly floundering. All that seemed to turn a corner though once he walked through the doors of Folsom Prison. Cash's performances of his classics went over so well with the crowd that his older hit Folsom Prison Blues re-emerged on the charts. While the original single has all the Cash trademarks down to his commanding low voice, the raucous energy he brings to his live performance is matched only by the approval of the fellow inmates around him. The roar of applause after Cash sings the line about shooting a man in Reno is both demented and hilarious all at the same time. By going back to his country roots, Cash turned this prison gig into one of the greatest second acts of his career. The song is loud, manic, and dripping with attitude, just like the Man in Black himself. In that sense, this live version may be the most authentic Johnny Cash song ever put to tape. Number 3, All Apologies by Nirvana. Nirvana's appearance on MTV Unplugged was one of the watershed moments in the band's career. Not only did they strip down their classic hits, but the intimate setting showed just how great a songwriter Kurt Cobain really was. While many cite the cover songs as the standouts of the gig, the last original song of the night was absolutely captivating. Since the gig was filmed shortly after the release of the band's third record, In Utero, many of the cuts played that night were from the album, with All Apologies saved for last. There is actually a lot of merit to the original, with its clean electric guitar as well as the hazy vocal effects applied to Kurt's voice, which sounds as though he's on the edge of consciousness. On the other hand, something magical happened once Cobain got an acoustic in his hands. The more downtrodden theme of the lyrics seems to ring all more true, with Cobain left to his own devices without his trademark electric sound. The performance also ends beautifully with Cobain and Dave Grohl harmonising until the track's instrumentation completely fades away. Given Cobain's tragic suicide shortly afterwards, this stellar unplugged performance stands as one of the final memories fans have of one of the spokesmen of 90s rock. Number 2, I Want You to Want Me by Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick were the darlings of power pop in the 1970s, with all the disco and soul music dominating the pop landscape. These rockers from Rockford, Illinois, came onto the scene ready to inject some life back into rock and roll. The only problem they had was that no station would play their music. Once the band returned from a successful tour of Japan, their live album gave their masterpiece, I Want You to Want Me, an added shot of adrenaline. One listen to the studio version of this song will show you the inherent wrongness of the track. Instead of the rip-roaring guitar of Rick Nielsen, there's a honky-tonk style piano which makes the song feel like it's crawling to the finish. While on the road, Nielsen picked up his guitar and absolutely wailed on this track, giving the song an added sense of excitement that was sorely missing from the original. On the other side, vocalist Robin Zander trades in his more laid-back studio delivery for a more raucous shout that enhanced the lyrics' sense of longing. Whereas the band's first crack at this song bored many rockers to tears, the live tape from At Budokan shows the band at the absolute peak of their powers. Number 1, Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. Kiss is a band that survived almost solely on their live performances. From the spitting fire to the rocket shooting guitars, there was always a certain amount of spectacle whenever you went to see these guys in concert. It's only fitting that the band's definitive song gained prominence thanks to the live cut as opposed to the studio version. The actual recorded version of Rock and Roll All Night is not bad from a structural standpoint though. The undeniable hook is still present and the solos are played fine, but it doesn't have the right energy. As opposed to the band's trademark hard rock style, the studio version goes for a more pop rock sound that feels slightly dated nowadays. Once the band livened up the arrangement for the live stage, the song took on a new life as a glorious celebration of all things rock and roll. The attitude in Gene Simmons' vocals is so much more in line with the demon persona than the performance found on record. Even the audience seems to become a fifth instrument as their screams added just the right amount of euphoria to make you feel like you're at the concert. After the band brought these songs to the live stage, they were ready to conquer the 70s rock scene. And there we go, the 10 live songs better than the studio recordings. If there's any others that you think are better than the studio recordings, then leave us a comment down below if there was any that we missed. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten Ria from WhatCulture Music, and I will see you in the next video.